Okay, in this lesson I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to use the color swatches I've provided for you in the beauty kit. If you haven't loaded the color swatches, you can go back to lesson 2 to see how to load all the tools that I'm giving you in this kit, the brushes, the swatches, everything. So if you haven't loaded the color swatches, you can go back to lesson 2 to see how to do it, or if you know how to load the swatches on your own, go right ahead and load them up. I didn't use color swatches really ever until a few years ago, and I found a use for them that just really helped me so much. And let me just go up here to my swatches palette, and we'll talk a little bit about it. First of all, when you open your swatches palette in Photoshop, usually the default is these really small little thumbnails. What I want you to do when you use this is to go ahead, go to the little flyout menu over here on the side and select large list, and that'll actually give you a really big block of color plus a description. Now all these color swatches you see here, these are all the defaults that come with Photoshop, and you can actually load quite a few more, but these are the ones that are in Photoshop when you first open it up. And we're just actually going to scroll past all of those. Okay, and you'll see here it's actually a white color swatch, but I named it DC's skin tone swatches below. And I'm going to just briefly touch on those and go into that a little bit more detail, the skin tone swatches in the next lesson. But what I've done is I've collected for you a whole really list of colors that will translate very well to the web, and they'll also translate very well to CMYK when you convert your RGB images to CMYK. Now, I can't guarantee that in every situation they're going to look perfect, but I can tell you that it's been my experience that these colors that I'm using, and I've been using these for the last 5 years, these colors really get you very close in the ballpark of producing colors that will render much more true when they're printed. I know that's a real roundabout way of saying it all, but really, when I go into the next lesson on skin tones, I'll explain to you a little bit more how I figured these all out. But I just want to show you that I have all these different tones here. These are skin tones. Below that, my wife is a makeup artist, and actually, the photo you're looking at on the screen right here is my lovely wife. And this is a shot we did, well, I can't say how long ago it was, but it's a shot I took of her long before Photoshop ever existed. And this was done all in film and in camera long before Photoshop existed. So you can see that, you know, even when I was a traditional photographer, I was still trying to produce effects that you would see in Photoshop today. But I was doing them the old-fashioned way in camera and in the darkroom. But my wife is a makeup artist now, and does the makeup on all my photo shoots. And what I do when I see a color that she uses on a model that I really like all these different blush colors, I sample them and save them. And I've come up with really creative names for them, like, you know, Blush 14 and Blush 15. So anyway, also same thing with eyeshadow and eyeliner. I've got those for you to use. And lip colors, again, I'm really creative with my descriptions. Lips 11, lips 12. And another one that's actually really helpful for me, I've collected hair color swatches when you need to correct hair color. These are really helpful for me too, and I hope they will be for you. Well, anyways, let's talk about this image that's in front of me right now. Like I said, this was a shot that I did a long time ago without Photoshop, and I didn't have some of the advantages that I have with Photoshop now. And one of the things that happened, because this is a multiple exposure, this would happen sometimes with multiple exposures, is that the color would shift in certain areas of the image where I didn't want it to. And if you look here, I'll come in a little closer, you can see that her hair is going a little bit green over here, and her chin down here and into her shoulder is almost looking a little sunburned. Now obviously from an image like this you can tell it's not supposed to be a literal representation of reality. This is supposed to be a little bit something more artistic. But the green hair and that bright red chin and side of her face, that might ended up just being a little too artistic for my taste. I would rather have it be a little bit more natural looking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these color swatches that you have and that I created, and I'm going to use them to help me out to correct the color. So first of all, I'm going to go over to my layers palette, and I'm going to click on the adjustment layer icon down here and go up to the very top list, which is solid color. Click on that, and my image just went black. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these skin tones over here, and I know that I've got descriptions to kind of give you an idea of how to use this, but this is not set in stone. Skin tone very light is for infants and elderly. Skin tone light is for Caucasian. Skin tone light medium Caucasian. Skin tone medium Caucasian. Tan, Native American. Yeah, you get the idea. These are just kind of general guidelines to help you out, but really you can use any of these skin tones and they should translate pretty well. Actually, let me cancel out of here first. Let me just show you real quick here. Another reason I like to have these swatches really big is that I can look at my image and look at the color and kind of decide which skin tone I'm going to use. Now, in this case, I'm going to use the skin tone light because I really think that's going to be about the closest to what a natural skin tone would be for her in this photo. So let me go back down here to the adjustment layer, and I'm going to remember that I'm going to use skin tone light, the second skin tone swatch right here. So let me go down to the adjustment layers, make that solid color adjustment, and it brings up the color picker, and all I need to do, let me slide this off to the side so you can see, is just go over here and it automatically gives me the eyedropper tool, and I just click on that little patch right there. I'll click on OK, and now I have a solid color fill layer with that skin tone color that I picked. The reason I could just make a blank layer and fill it with this color. The reason I use these adjustment layers is because it automatically gives me a mask, a layer mask that I can use to paint on. And I just find that really helpful. So actually, before I do anything else, I'm going to just name this layer skin color. And I'm going to change the blending mode to hue. And you can see that it's changed all the tones, all the color tones, to a close range of that skin tone light color that I picked. I could also do color. Color will give a more dramatic effect. And actually, in this case, I think I like the color blending mode better. I always either go back and forth between either hue blending mode or color blending mode up here. Let's try color. Let's just stick with color. And I'm also going to fill this layer mask with black so I can then paint back over it just where I need it in white. And let me just do that real quick. Go up here to Edit, Fill, and under Contents, select black. Click OK. And now everything's hidden from that on that layer mask. And I'm just going to grab a paintbrush and just a nice, very soft, big round paintbrush, and make sure that I'm painting with my foreground color down here. Make sure it's white. If I hit the letter D, that makes my default colors foreground layer white and background layer black. So let me just paint right here with white. I'm going to paint over that area that I thought was a little wacky looking. Now it's going to make a really strong effect, but don't worry, I'm actually going to change that too in just a little bit. And go down here a little bit on the shoulder and right over in this area. Okay, now it's taken away the skin tone a little bit too much, but what I'll do over here in the layers palette is just go to that layer and just drop the opacity a little bit, and just take that down until go all the way down to 0 and start to work my way up and look at the image. And that looks pretty good right about there. That's kind of evened up that tone quite a bit. And actually, I can see that this weird kind of green is spilling off over here too. So I'm going to just paint with white in this area a little bit also. Okay. Oh, there's some on her, a little bit of green on her forehead up here. Let's get rid of that. Good. Okay. Now I'm actually going to do the same thing with another color fill layer to get rid of the green color in her hair. Now her hair is supposed to be blonde, so I'm going to scroll down here in my swatch palette, go down to my hair colors that I've provided for you, and there it says DC's hair color swatches below. And I think I'm going to go, she's really a dark blonde. Let's just go with a dark blonde. That's that third swatch right there, dark blonde. So I'm going to do the same thing, making a color fill adjustment layer, solid color under adjustment layers, brings up the color picker, move that out of the way, go over here with the eyedropper tool, click on dark blonde, click on OK, and then let me change the layer blending mode up here to either hue or color. Let's see how color looks. I think I'm going to go with hue this time. And again, I'm going to fill this layer mask with black to hide everything. And this time I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut. Black is my background color over here right now. And on the Mac, all I have to do is click Command Delete, and it fills that background layer with black. Or not that layer mask with black. Great. Let me just use that same soft paint brush, and now I'm going to paint with white over her hair. And actually, because her hair was so greenish looking, it's actually looking kind of pink now when I paint with it. I'll just get all of her hair with that color. Good. I don't need to be real perfect on getting it just on her hair. For one thing, that layer blending mode of hue is really forgiving. If I happen to go over an area that's kind of a little bit white, it won't change the color cast at all on that. So I think that looks pretty good. Maybe a little too intense. Let me just lower the opacity slightly of this layer and bring that down. Let's try right about there. Good. Okay, and let me just show you before and after. Okay, that's before. You can see that chin was really bright red over here, and the hair had that greenish cast to it. And now, after, the color looks a little bit more natural. So that's it for how to use these color swatches. The next lesson is skin tone, and I'm going to go into a little more detail on how to use the skin tone swatches that I have up here. Okay, great. Well, I hope this was useful, and let's move on to skin tone.